Hello and welcome to PlayStationGrenade. Fortnite Battle Royale players continually improve with every single game. The days of easy wins are numbered, and to be able to compete for victories proves harder every day. With that in mind, I wanted to bring you 8 console settings and secrets which I believe will improve your game. So if you're one of those people who can only play on the weekend, this should help you stand shoulder to shoulder with those that put in 40 hours a week. You ready? Let's do this. Let's start with the most obvious, but also the most frightening to anyone who has been playing from the start, the Combat Pro controller setting. I'll say it simply, you must change to this setup as quickly as you can. Most of what I'm going to go through on this video depends on that setting, and I don't want to waste your time. Anyway, with Combat Pro, not only can your weapons be switched to back and forth, but that's also the case for building options. Other noticeable improvements include using R3 to crouch, which we all know improves accuracy. The old system forced us to stop aiming to perform the crouch animation, but with this way, your right thumb is always on the stick. And there's no excuse not to crouch before firing. I know it seems daunting to switch control options, especially if you're hitting your mid-20s and your ability to unlearn is quite a struggle, but stick with it. I promise in the long run, you'll pick up more victories. I didn't win for 20 games whilst learning Combat Pro and considered switching back so many times. I feel your pain. Now that's out of the way, we can get to the real meat of this video and a huge tip I want to offer. How often do you use the pyramid structure? I personally only use it to trap enemies, which isn't vital. Here's my suggestion. During the game lobby, use the edit function to remove 2 of the furthest squares away, thus creating a ramp. I know it sounds ridiculous, but let me explain. The input lag in-game can be horrendous. The more button presses in a short period of time increases this issue and causes this stuttering effect. In battle, we want to eliminate as much lag and desynchronization as possible, and that's why I use the pyramid ramp technique. Let's put it into action. Let's build a wall and a ramp twice in standard settings. It takes 11 button prompts. In Combat Pro, it still takes 11 button presses, so that's not the best way to showcase the Combat Pro option. But if we switch to the pyramid ramp configuration, we can knock off 3 inputs, from 11 button presses down to 8. What more, in this quick scenario, the pyramid ramp build was 2 seconds faster than the other options. 2 seconds in battle is a lifetime, so I hope you consider this option. And if you're still not convinced, keep in mind the lag issues. Less button presses usually mean less chance of stutter lag, which infuriates us all. In addition to this, as we aren't using the original ramp, it can be edited into something else. For example, I like to rotate the ramp to a downslope for safe descending from roofs. I'm currently testing out the spiral staircase option to allow me to build vertically if stuck next to a mountain. Simply put, by utilizing the pyramid, you can customize your build options pre-fight to complement your playstyle. I really hope you consider it. Let's talk about aiming on console and more importantly, aim assist. Aim assist is most definitely needed on console, as your thumbs cannot gain the accuracy compared to a keyboard and mouse. If you're playing on a pad, don't turn it off. When aim assist works with you, it feels great and the random spread element keeps us on our toes in the search for those headshots. But the issues arise when aim assist works against you. Have you ever been in a scenario where you seem to be stuck behind the target, unable to hit them? It's bloody stressful, isn't it? Well, don't worry too much, it isn't a reflection of your ability, it's simply an aim assist issue we can't solve, but we can combat. Let's quickly make sure we know what aim assist is. As your reticle crosses the target, or rather the vicinity of the target, the aim assist kicks in and helps stabilize your shots towards the target. In recent updates, this has been reduced massively, and thankfully the snipers no longer use it. But it doesn't do the job for you, it only assists the motions of your thumbs. If you begin to fire behind an opponent, the aim assist kicks in and actively prevents you from catching up to your target. To stop this, we have 2 options. The first is to move your thumbs past the target, but you will need to exert additional pressure to make it work. Alternately, you must stop firing, reacquire your target, and once again start shooting. Essentially, we all need to lead our targets and allow them to run into the bullets. By doing this, the aim assist will live up to its name and assist your accuracy. We can go a step further than this with our next point. It's time to talk about sensitivity settings, and right away I want to state categorically that sensitivity is completely subjective. Everyone is different, so don't let anyone make this decision for you. Try on low, medium and high sensitivities until you find your zone. you'll need to play for hours for your muscle memory to adapt, and those tiny bits of fine-tuning that you will need to make. Let's break down the pros and cons so you can make an educated decision. Low sensitivity is all about bigger movements with your thumbs. If you're quite heavy-handed or if you play in a freezing cold room, this should be your starting point when choosing sensitivity. When it comes to ranged accuracy, low sensitivity rules the roost. And by low sensitivity, I mean between 1 and 3 in your settings. Fights from long and medium distances are dominated by low sensitivity players, so if you prefer to use the assault rifle, burst rifle and to a lesser extent the snipers, think about trying controller sensitivity 3. It's far easier to track a target at range with a sensitivity around 3, and there's a kicker to this too. The aim assist is hugely improved, making ranged encounters a breeze. So put bluntly, low sensitivity will help the aim assist. High sensitivity, on the other hand, will make ranged encounters a little harder at first. Not impossible though. With practice, a high sense player can wipe the floor with anyone at distance, but as a starting point, there is that small issue of aim assist working against you. But we've already looked at that. The benefits for high sensitivity around 6 and upwards allows for tiny movements in your thumbsticks to be recognised as official inputs. This gives players a huge range of motion compared to low sensitivity players. High sense is ideal for up close and personal combat, so you double pump players, you should consider a higher setting to allow for mobility when jumping around like a headless chicken. I was hoping to use my own footage here, but I hate double pump, probably because I'm terrible at it. High sensitivity is great for verticality, and as we all know, Fortnite is all about the high ground. Anakin. Another little advantage to high sensitivity is the ability to look behind your character without losing any speed. Watch any professional player and you'll notice the jump spin they constantly do to check behind them. On console, this is only possible with a sensitivity around 7 and above. By using this, you can run into battle and check your flanks without losing any momentum at all. Oh, before I forget, if your pad is getting a little old and worn out and you play on a high sensitivity, you may find yourself doing this. Because of wear and tear, the thumbstick slightly pushes to the side, only a micro amount, but if you're on a high sensitivity setting, then the game thinks that you want to run in circles, so you'll be stuck like this. You'll either need to buy a new pad or lower the sensitivity to prolong the life of your current pad. On low sensitivity, the tiny offsets of your thumbsticks would be completely ignored by the console. There's so much more detail we could go into about controller sensitivity, but at this point I just wanted to get the basics into all console players. At present, I play in the middle of both sensitivities. After I took a fortnight off Fortnite, there's a joke in there somewhere, I came back and found my settings were too high, and I reverted back to these. Starting at 6, I will play a handful of matches and slowly change my sensitivity back up to 8 because I'm trying to get better with shotguns. I'm adapting my game due to the horrific double pump meta, which I do hate, but I need to stay competitive. Keep in mind, all this comes down to muscle memory, which can take many hours to change. So make a decision and slowly get used to it, but don't be afraid to adapt or fine-tune to match your skill set. And always remember, aiming down sights or ADS and scope settings can be changed independently of general sensitivity. That was far more in depth than I planned, so let's go through a few settings you may want to consider. Back in the PS2 days, aim and fire were always on L1 and R1, rather than the triggers underneath. This was switched when the trigger buttons were redesigned to feel the same as gun triggers, but they actually take a fraction more time to press and release than if you were using L1 and R1. It's possible to switch these buttons if you see fit. On PS4, find Settings and Accessibility and turn on button assignments. From here, you can reassign anything you desire. While we're here, those of you who jump a great deal in battle should consider switching the assigned jump button to either a shoulder button or a thumb trigger. The theory is simple. To jump in the original settings, you must take your thumb away from aiming for a split second, unless you hold the pad like a claw, of course. Switching the button here will result in both your thumbs staying on the thumbsticks and therefore more headshots. I've got to admit I wasn't going to include that point as I hate double pump so much, but it's for the greater good, I suppose. Whilst we're in the settings, let's improve our quality of life with a few changes here. If you are ever searching a chest and your thumb slips off the button, then change the tap to search function and now only a single press is required. In here, I also make sure I turn off vibration for a few reasons. I find it impairs me for a split second, and also I like to preserve the battery life, and if you're on PS4 you will know about the battery issues. I also recommend turning on the reset building option, which will always make a wall the first option in your construction arsenal. If you are great at remembering what the last thing you did, then switch this off, but if you put down random floors mid-battle, yeah, keep it on to minimize issues. One more thing while we're here, I also recommend switching the option to stop reloads when sprinting. Being stuck in a load animation will lead to your death from time to time, but by using this option you can safely run away before you die pumping shells into a shotgun. This one is an old one, but the addition of the Black Knight, I think it needs revisiting. Brightness. If you have any trouble locating dark characters under trees or in bushes, then crank this setting up. I've had a great deal of success sitting under trees when playing as the Black Knight. Not many people tend to check trees, but with that skin on it's a real struggle to spot. So stay ahead of the curve and smash the brightness through the roof. Only issue? It looks awful and detracts from the game's beauty. Another stupidly obvious one to end on, but I think it needs to be said again. If you are playing Fortnite, put on a pair of headphones to hear everything. If you're playing on your living room TV, you'll be surprised how many footsteps, distant sounds you are just completely missing. Do yourself a favour and grab a headset to even out the battlefield. So there we have it, 8 console settings and secrets which I believe will improve your game. Let me know what you think and if the pyramid ramp technique is worth a try. With 60 FPS coming to consoles soon, time saved using modded ramps will be invaluable. If I've missed anything, let me know and jump on our Discord to chat about Fortnite and other video games. I'm Adam from PlayStation Grenade. It's been a bloody pleasure like always. I'll see you next time.